Welcome to Purpose 360. I'm Carol Cohn, and today more than ever before, companies, brands, and their partners need to stand for something beyond the bottom line. I've created this program to provide insights and ideas to share with you so that you can apply them to your work the very next day. The goal here is to up-level your purpose and to benefit companies and society. So please join us.
What if we reduce, reuse, and recycle? What if we do the things that really matter? Just imagine the positive environmental change we could create in our communities. Just imagine how we can change our lives and our environment forever. At Cox, we're not just imagining positive environmental change. We're making it happen. We can do the things that really matter. It's our world.
Let's talk a little bit about your investments in STEAM education. You're really trying, again, a ripple effect to promote self-sufficiency through community-based organizations. So can you talk about why is STEAM important? How are you, again, energizing local groups to truly bring true impact in local communities?
Yeah, this has been an exciting change for us as well. When I started, one of the things Bob challenged our team to do was to really help refine what we wanted the community agenda to be, to take all of this great work that had happened over so many years in the community space and make sure it was really strategically linked to purpose. And when we started by doing two big things. One was an overview of where we have strengths, and we talked a lot about those around innovation. We're really a technology company when it comes down to it. And then we did a lot of employee listening. How do the employees want to engage with purpose? And how do they want to engage with sort of volunteerism and community partnerships? And what we heard over and over is that they really wanted to know how their time spent could help change some of these big world problems. And they were really excited about solutions that, as they said, were not Band-Aids, that were really getting to the underlying systemic challenges our communities were serving. And so, after, boiling down 18 months into 30 seconds, where we landed was this focus for our community work on solving environmental and STEAM challenges for underserved communities. And it was really with this premise that this could break down barriers, that it could really solve some of the larger problems community members might feel if they had access to skills training, to job creation, to all the things that fall under STEAM. And if you have a career path, you have a lot of other access as well. So that, it was really all that feedback that led us to this focus. And we are still growing. We are still learning our way here, but there's been a couple of exciting things that we've done. We've launched a national partnership with Girls Inc., focus on educating and providing STEAM resources across the country. And that takes a lot of forms. Sometimes it is, career days where girls all over the country can hear from some of our STEAM women technology leaders. Sometimes it is market days where the girls go for a week of entrepreneurship and business camp, and then build business cases and products and come sell them when we're in person on Cox campus. And in our chat and the markets and the chapters, it comes to life in lots of different ways. So we're excited about that partnership. Another one that's been really great has been with the Boys and Girls Club, where we have had a really long-term relationship between our Cox Communications division and the Boys and Girls Clubs. And one of the things they have done over the years is fund technology centers at over 100 Boys and Girls Club locations, where we provide the internet access as well as the computers and even robotics and code training. We train the center staff on how to use all the resources so that when the kids are there after school, they not only have a great place to get their schoolwork done, but they have a really great place to engage in STEAM and technology. So just a couple of examples of how it's coming to life as we explore this space.
Within the Boys and Girls Clubs, there are other companies that are also helping to support these technology centers. So I'm curious as to how you work with others. And again, you've got this ripple effect. So it seems that you will be very open to it. But I think that we often talk to companies who go, no, I want to own it. And so can you share a little insights into how you share versus own?
Well, one of the issues that we're trying to solve in this whole STEAM space, of course, is just this terrible gap, this digital learning gap, right? And which has been exacerbated by the pandemic, where you're actually seeing individuals who are now trying to school from home, and either they don't have internet service or not an internet service that isn't good enough for them to be able to stream and that type of thing. So it's even causing a greater divide in that space. So one thing I'll share before I talk about an announcement we made last week, which was really exciting, was Cox years ago pioneered a program called Connect to Compete. And this program was designed to help bridge that digital divide. And what it does is identifies individuals who are on the free or reduced lunch program at school. And it offers them not only a very low-cost internet service, under $10 a month, but also provides training, recycled technology and equipment, and even training for parents so that the households can learn more about how the internet works and just what an advantage it is to a household. So that was actually then adopted by the whole cable industry. So Comcast and some of the other sister organizations that we have created their own programs that tackle this same issue. So it's one of the ways we have shared. We developed that, and Comcast's program is called Internet Essentials. It's basically the same type of program that they offer in their markets. But just last week, Cox Communications President and CEO Pat Esser, he announced the launch of a new Cox Cares Act Solutions for Education. And this is a $60 million commitment over the next year, specifically to closing that digital learning gap through a partnership with cities and school districts, counties, and community-based organizations, all with the single goal of helping get families connected. We're super excited about that, and we're really, and of course, we're working with those communities where we have a presence. But we're hoping once again that this will also have a ripple effect, and that some of our peers out there will help us with this, because it really, we stand the chance of a generation of kids who fall behind, and it will be very difficult for them to catch up unless we provide them the tools they need. And as an internet provider, we feel that we have a responsibility in helping solve for this.
Again, you can't solve these problems alone. So it's a tremendous thoughtfulness that allows companies to share and scale. So kudos to you. I'm so excited. You've talked about Atlanta and how Atlanta is so important. It's your home. And obviously, in the last few months, there's been tremendous, racial injustice situations as in Atlanta, but in other cities. And I know that Alex released a very compelling statement renouncing racism and hate. And you took a variety of, very candid internal actions, introspection, as well as some external actions. Can you talk about what you did and how it made both of you feel as, colleagues within Cox?
Yeah, thanks. It's been, I think, a trying year for everyone. I think what you continue to hear is how overwhelmed people tend to feel right now. And I think one of the things that I found most sort of uplifting was how much across the company people joined together to really start thinking about what we can do to move forward in a positive way. So one of the things Alex's statement is public, of course, but what I was really pleased to see is the work that happened behind the scenes. So almost immediately, a task force of, I think, about 40 or 50 employees was pulled together to bring a cross-divisional, cross-expertise folks together to really think about what are all the different ways that we can be a part of solutions together. And so that task force, which we internally call the Actions Speak Working Group, still meets. We were meeting multiple times a week. Now we meet about once a week to really come together around the programs around that we're going to bring to life. So it starts with listening to the employees, which we did. We held so many listening sessions for weeks at a time to really understand how our employees were feeling, to understand what support they needed and what actions they expected the company to take in response. And we are going through that list one at a time and answering the call to action for each of them. So, for example, our employees were pretty loud and clear about the role for voter participation. And we already had a lot in the works that we talked about earlier, but it was a great opportunity to make sure our employees knew we heard them, that we were partnering with Rock the Vote to provide voter registration and information and access. We provided the paid time off to vote. And then we took it a step further because our employees had so much energy and enthusiasm and creativity that we also took that campaign public to our customers. So we used all of the assets we had developed for our employees with Rock the Vote to share on our Autotrader and Kelley Blue Book websites. Those have had close to 1 million impressions, so it helps our customers figure out their own voter registration information. And we're sharing it through the program Bob just talked about, Connect to Compete, so that all of those users who may not have had the resources because they lacked internet connectivity now can register to vote as well. So what's interesting is that working group continues to innovate, to think outside the box, and to bring in all of these brains. It's interesting, it's sort of Alex's vision come to life. All of these brains around the table to think about how else we can participate in solving for all of these inequities. So I was feeling a lot of, to answer your question, a lot of hope and energy. We also, as you may know, Alex dedicated $1 million to give to social justice and civil rights organizations. Rather than make that decision on where the money should go as the philanthropic arm of the business with my team, we used the polling of our employees to ask them what changes they want to see, what kind of groups did they want that money to go to, what focus did they want those groups to have. And that really informed our decision on how to give the money away. So it's, for me, been very reassuring to see this top-level leadership and commitment partnered with hearing the voice of the employee and answering to where they're feeling the need is the strongest.
And Bob, how did you feel?
Well, just an overwhelming sense of pride and how the company during this difficult time, has really, really stepped up and not surprising. Maury's been here 3 years now or so, working on 4, I think. I've been here 18. So for me, it was more of a confirmation. And when I saw the company react the way it did, for me, it was more like, well, of course that's how we're going to react because that's who we are. I mean, that's the type of company that we would and what I would expect as someone who's worked for this very generous and very thoughtful company for all these years. So it kind of reaffirmed my commitment to the organization for what it stands for, what it believes.
Let's pause for a moment, and I'd like to pivot to a new small segment called In the Know. For In the Know this week, I suggest that you take a deep dive into the 2021 rankings of America's most just companies, featuring the Forbes Just 100 and industry leader lists. You can find this at justcapital.com. Microsoft tops the list for the third year in a row, followed by NVIDIA, Apple, Intel, and Alphabet. JP Morgan Chase and AT&T are new to the top 100, and the full Just 100 features 38 new companies. I know when we talk to clients, they are very proud of making those lists because Just Capital is looking at stakeholder-based capitalism, not just shareholders. It's a fascinating read, and I know you'll learn a lot from it. Now back to Cox. We'd like to know, you've talked so many wonderful, you shared insights and talked about the ripple effect and sharing and scaling. If you're at some conference and you're going to meet not a privately held company, a publicly held company, but from what you know and what you've learned from your incredible purpose and your principles and values, what 3 insights, and I might get 6 because I might get 3 from Bob and 3 from Maury. So would you like to share with them as they're on their journey to identify and then really embed their purpose in their organization?
So I think we learned through this process that your purpose really lives within your people. And it's really just a matter of identifying it, giving it a name, and then extracting it. And we found storytelling to be the most effective way to do that. The second thing is if your purpose isn't genuine, or even more importantly, accurate, I think your employees won't believe it and they will spew it out. They know if the purpose is on point because they're living it every day. So creating a purpose, while it should be aspirational, if it's too much of a leap, or if it doesn't feel much like the company that you're working in, it won't stick.
I think Bob's spot on. What I would add is that it needs to be uniquely you. And I think Bob's right that employees will see through it. It also needs to be where you have a right to have a seat at the table. Otherwise, it sort of comes and goes with leadership. And rather than sort of being part of the core DNA that employees can iterate on and build on, and that can grow and innovate over time. It's part of why we have this focus on STEAM and environment when it comes to our corporate responsibility programs. We have strength and expertise and knowledge there. And I think when you play to that, your employees also understand how their day-to-day work can influence and be a part of that change. And it really becomes a really nice match. The other piece I would share is that you have to find ways to share and invite others along. Part of knowing where you're strong also means that you know where you need support to fill out the full suite of solutions. These really big problems will not get solved by one player, whether it is one company or one government entity or one community partner. And so I think that really comfortable, transparent sharing will allow others to join you and have a seat at the table with you to find those solutions. And we're not going to get anywhere in terms of systemic change if we're all doing this by ourselves.
I'm curious, Maury, when you say comfortable, transparent, and sharing, what does comfortable mean in that context?
Yeah, for me, it means that you have to have some trust to have candid conversations, both internally, but also externally, picking really great partners, whether it's the nonprofit partners or other corporations, where you acknowledge what you can do best and also where they are strong. We never, for example, want to tell our nonprofit partners how to operate or the best way to solve their problems. We want them to bring them to us so that we can iterate together on where we can be of most use.
What a great partner. So, gosh, I hate to end this, but I'm going to have to. But maybe we'll come back in 6 months and see how you're progressing in so many of these areas. But I always like to give my guests the last word. So what haven't we asked?
I think you've asked it all, Carol. What I would just say is thank you for the time and the invitation to share. The more we do this, the more we can join others. So I'm eager to hear what other great ideas you come up with through your podcast with other companies so that we can join forces.
Okay, that would be great. And Bob?
You're a great interviewer, so you've asked a lot of great questions. What I will do is I'll pile on from what Maury said and really just thank you for creating a platform for companies and individuals to share these purpose journeys and these purpose stories. And what we know from Edelman's most recent research, people are looking to businesses to help solve some of these systemic issues more than they are governments. That's for sure. We really have an opportunity to take that mantle of responsibility and using business and all that we bring to bear to help solve some of these things. So we're in a wonderful position to help drive change, and I hope that others can join us in helping do that.
So it sounds like you're open for listeners to reach out to you and perhaps ask some questions.
Absolutely, of course.
And let me ask one other thing, because I don't think we spent enough time on it. And it has to do with your new businesses, your clean tech, your clean energy, your sustainable food and agriculture, because those are bottom line, profitable, profit-seeking businesses where you've taken your purpose and a sustainability lens and a community lens, and you're bringing it right into the center of idea creation, value creation, and also solving. It's like a win for the business and a win for society. So before I let both of you go, I would love you to touch on, each give a story from one of those businesses about why you're leaning into them so strongly.
Sure. I mean, I think one of our big plays has been Bright Farms, which is a sustainable agriculture play. So Bright Farms makes lettuces. Their model is to be in urban centers where you can have essentially very large greenhouses in an urban environment. So you are both reducing the amount of water it takes to grow. You're reducing any pesticide needs and fertilizer needs. You are shortening the growth time, and you're shortening the time to market, so that the vegetables don't have to travel as far and don't need all the chemicals to have a longer shelf life. So there's a whole lot of environmental value there. If you can do all of those things, there's also incredible cost value. So you're able to save, all those transportation costs, shelf life costs, lost product inventory when it goes bad before it is sold, all comes at a cost. So these plays, you're right, Carol, to say they are sustainability plays, but they are also long-term business plays. Food is an easy way for each of us as a consumer to also see the value. We want our food to be fresher and healthier and grown closer to home. So I think it's one of those that's really tangible for us to each understand as a consumer.
I'm sure that you are also thinking about food deserts, and that in the inner city and underserved communities, there is to get to a grocery store is a chore. And so is that also part of the thinking with Bright Farms?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. Right now, it is still a growing business in terms of its reach and its locations. But you're exactly right, Carol. When we think about the long-term implications of making Bright Farms even bigger with even more locations, the solutions it can have in that space are, to use your analogy, the ripple effect is sort of limitless. So we're excited to see what can happen, because if you can solve for the the food desert challenge, we can solve a lot of other underlying health needs as well.
And Bob, can you give an example of one of these new ventures?
Yeah, so we're invested in a company called Carbon Lighthouse. And they're a wonderful organization. Their tagline is Profitable Climate Solutions. So they're not shy at all about what their intentions are. But, they really believe that businesses have everything right in front of them in order to solve some of the global emissions issues that we have, which 20% of global emissions come from non-residential buildings, right? So commercial type buildings. And what they do is they re-engineer new ways for businesses and buildings to become more efficient. And every building has an opportunity where this can be done. And we think there's a huge opportunity here to really get these businesses' houses in order to just operate more efficiently. A little less sexy than some of the other things, but clearly something right in front of us and a huge opportunity.
So in closing, Bob, what's it like to be Bob? And you wake up in the morning, you've been there 18 years, Cox is huge now. But, how do you address the next day?
Bob, what's it like to be Bob?
Yeah, what's it like to be Bob? But Maury, I'm going to ask you too, what's it like to be you?
Listen, I feel really fortunate, really grateful, to have landed at a company that really believes and really walks the talk, right? I mean, I feel fortunate because I feel like I've worked for one of the best public companies at Walt Disney World, and now I've worked for clearly the best private company out there with Cox. And it has been so interesting and so exciting for me personally to see the changes and the shifts and the responses to the environment and how this company continues reinventing itself and really driving innovation and change to really maintain relevancy going forward. And I have no doubt that this company is going to be around for many, many future generations because they always think this way. And it's just a real honor to be able to work here and work on some of these things that hopefully will have some lasting impact. But doing our little bit to help put Cox on the map in terms of some of these things. So.
Oh, it's more than a little bit. And Maury?
Yeah, my career's always been in the environmental space, so I'm personally very passionate about it. But what's changed for me recently, I now have two small kids, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so when we talk, and both of them are asking some pretty tough questions because of what they're exposed to right now. It's been a tough year with a lot to explain. So when we talk about getting to work every day on changes that can be generational, it's just an incredible privilege to feel like I get so much license from a company to participate in big changes that I can see will have on the faces of my kids. So that I realize every day is just sort of a remarkable benefit to have in a job.
I want to thank both of you. This has been a fantastic conversation. You both talked about the businesses, the evolution, and your personal feelings that bring Cox's purpose to life. Because you're both empowering people today to build a better future for the next generation. And, Maury, you talked about your young children and the world tomorrow. We all need to work on this. But you're doing it in profitable, exciting businesses, as well as you're evolving your core businesses. So I have to give you I'm so thrilled we did this. I've known Bob for a long time, and I have seen the evolution. But I just trust our listeners are going to be wowed by this somewhat of a quiet company that's doing extraordinary things. So I want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And then I want to ask our listeners, what is your purpose?